Welcome back to Calm AF. This is episode 312, and today we're going to dive into a moment that just about every high achiever, every ambitious person, every people pleaser, every perfectionist eventually faces. And that's that moment when you look around at the life that you've built, the one that you have worked so freaking hard for, and you think, I did it. I achieved the thing. I checked all the boxes. I did the things that I thought I was supposed to do so that I could really enjoy my life and feel happy and feel peaceful. How come I don't feel peaceful? How come I'm not really feeling happy like I thought I was supposed to? If this moment sounds familiar, this episode is for you. Let's dive in. All right, before we get into it, I have a quick announcement. I recently announced this to my email list, but if you're not on my email list and you're not following me on Instagram, you missed it. And that is this. My Calm AF daily love letters are now available to everyone in a subscription. I've been writing these daily love letters since 2014. I send them to my clients every single morning. And until now, they were only available if you were working with me as a private coaching client or if you were in one of my programs or in one of my groups. But for years, like since 2014, when I started writing them, people have been asking me, like, Kristen, I need these letters. Like, can you do a love letter book? Can you put them in a book? How do I get them? Good news. Yes, a love letter book is coming. I know there's some of you being like, oh my God, finally. But until the book is out, you can get these love letters delivered to your inbox every morning. It's $9 a month, no brainer. And what happens is you will get a short, it usually takes less than a minute, 2 minutes to read. But these are just bite-sized but powerful perspective shifting reminders that show up in your inbox so that it's the first thing that you can start your day with before the world bombards you with all the things to be freaking out about, all the news, all the stress, all the notifications, all the distractions. And the reason why I have been sending these to my clients since 2014 is because I know that there is a split second every morning right after you wake up, right before the world grabs you by the face, where you have an opportunity to take control, right? Where you have a moment where you get to decide, am I going to calibrate my nervous system? Am I going to shift to the neural pathway that will create the day, the life that I want? Or am I going to decide to just let whatever happens happen and I will just react to it? Will I be intentional today or will I keep being unintentional? And that's why I write these love letters. That's why I send them. They get in front of the chaos because it's way easier to start your day on the pathway that you want than it is to fight your way back after you're already in reactive mode, back on that old neural pathway with all your old habits and your old mindsets. It's much easier to start the day intentionally. And that's what the love letters do. So if that's something you want, like I said, $9 a month, it's like one coffee for the month. You can sign up for those through the link in the show notes, or you can head over to kristenfinch.com and get the information there. So let's get over to today's topic, which is, why do we end up here? Like, why do we all inevitably, after working so hard to create the life we want, why does it feel like we can't enjoy it? Why does it feel that way? So first, we need to acknowledge the obvious, and that is hustling feels good. It does. It feels good to like get that rush of doing something new or starting a new project or getting yourself a new goal. It's like a dopamine factory, because every time you get this little hit of a milestone, or you get praised for something, or you achieve something and you get closer to your goal, your brain is flooded with dopamine. and it gets you a little high. And just like any other high, when you get it, you're like, that was amazing. I want that again. And that's what keeps us in that cycle, right? Like it's not about the enjoyment. It's about how can I feel that excitement? How can I feel that rush? How can I feel that adrenaline? And to be clear, I don't have a problem with that. I'm always like, hey, when you're in that part of the process, have fun. Enjoy the adrenaline, enjoy the dopamine. Just know that there's going to be a point where it's going to stop. The problem is that for so many high achievers where your ambition is really like who you are, your success is deeply tied to your identity. And the world celebrates it, right? Like, who do we celebrate? We celebrate the people who are like grinding it out. When you push, when you strive, when you over deliver, you do get that external validation. And that, again, there's a little more dopamine. And your brain starts believing, oh, I am valuable because I achieve. That's what makes me valuable. So I guess we can never stop achieving. I guess we can never slow down. And then there's the obvious like external rewards that happen from achievement, especially in like career or jobs where you get, money, promotions, or you get social proof, or you get likes, or you get applause. All of this dopamine, your brain is gathering this tangible evidence. I should say your brain is hoarding this tangible evidence, being like, no, look, it's true. The hustle is working. Every time I work really, 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 really hard, I get some sort of reward or some sort of validation. But the problem that we know is that at some point we realize, well, this dopamine doesn't last. And this high that I used to feel, it's like now I have to do even more and I have to push even harder and I have to level up my goals so high just to get a little taste of that dopamine or that adrenaline. And that's exhausting. And you hit a goal, you feel good for a second and you realize like, wait, but before I can do anything, like I can't enjoy this, the goalpost has moved again. And instead of getting to rest and enjoy the fruits of your labor, which is the reason why we are doing all of this, right? The reason why I'm working really hard right now is so I can enjoy my life later. When you're just feeling the pressure to do more, work harder, run faster, right? So we all get to this point. Every high achiever, every overachiever eventually hits that moment of like, I've done everything I was supposed to do. Why don't I feel like I thought I would? Why don't I actually feel happy or at peace? That's why I did all this. That's why I made all this money so I could finally feel relaxed. Why don't I? Now, what happens when we get to this moment? Sometimes we have to go through this many times. A lot of times people will ignore it the first time. They're like, well, I guess I just need to have another big goal, or I have to push push this goal out a little bit more. I have to hustle a little longer until one day life forces you to listen. It always will. Sometimes it shows up in the form of burnout. And that I always say, I'm like, that's probably your best case scenario because the other way it will show up is through your health issues, right? Sometimes the only way that someone will slow down if their body is like, you're not going to listen to me, I'm going to make you listen to me. And sometimes, and this is a really hard one, I have noticed that, people will realize by spending time with someone who seems really peaceful, who seems really happy, but hasn't had the level of success, maybe doesn't have as much money or as many achievements. And they're like, well, they seem really happy. It's like a brain disconnect. Like, but if success equals happy, they don't have that. How are they happy? We all get to the point at some point, right? Where we're like, I see that this isn't going the way I thought it was going to. And when you listen, it's a moment where you get to shift from the hustling for your worthiness trap into achieving from alignment. And you do. This is one of the misconceptions is that we think if I stop this hustle, if I stop trying to make sure I'm achieving so that other people can see that I'm achieving, then I'm not going to actually get to achieve anymore. And I do like achieving, and that's not how it works. But that's something that you just have to trust and do and see for yourself, because from the outside, it doesn't seem like that could be possible because you've spent your life, it's tied to your identity. But if you don't make the shift, you just stay stuck in the cycle. And then you stay trying to solve the problem of why you don't feel fulfilled by just doubling down on the thing that isn't fulfilling you, right? If more work or more achievement, more money, more validation were the thing that would make you feel happy and peaceful and fulfilled, you would feel that way by now. But that's not what's happening. So, how do you know? How do you know if you are still caught in this hustle for worthiness cycle? There's a few kind of really good questions you can ask yourself. First, you look at your goals. Are the goals that you have for yourself your goals because they'll impress other people? Now, I want you to be really honest with yourself. You do not have to admit this out loud to another human being and say like, yeah, every goal I have is because I want to impress my dad, or I want to impress my boss, or I want to impress my wife. It's like, you just have to admit it to yourself. If you're like, if you wouldn't have these goals for yourself, if nobody else knew you had this goal, would you still set the goal? If nobody else could see that you achieved this goal, would you still set this goal for yourself? Because if not, you are definitely caught in this trap. And I think, again, just be honest with yourself here. If you feel like everything you do is to prove something, like if I don't do this, then someone's going to think poorly of me, or someone isn't going to approve of me. If you feel like everything you're doing is to prove something to someone else or to yourself or to some impossible standard, you are probably caught in this cycle. If the thought of slowing down feels like failure, you're like, well, no, like I would love to slow down because that's the whole point why I'm hustling so hard, is so that I can slow down. But if I slow down now, that means I've failed. You're definitely feeling this trap, right? This hustling for your worthiness that is impossible to actually feel worthy. If you feel anxious right after you accomplish something, right? This just happened. I had a call with a client the other day. She had this big, huge thing that she had going on in her world, and she has been working so hard to get it, and she achieved it. She achieved the goal just the other day. And when we talked the next morning, I was like, okay, let's celebrate. Let's talk about our wins here. And she was like, yeah, she's like, I'm really happy I did this, but now I'm actually feeling really anxious because now I have to do this. And I was like, oh, okay, hold up. You don't actually need a new goal to chase. Can we just pause here before you start feeling anxious and pushing yourself back into this hustle cycle? When it comes from a place of enoughness, we can achieve goals that feel meaningful, right? We choose goals that are like, it doesn't matter if anyone knows that I've accomplished this. I have a client who is getting ready to train she is training for a big race. And it's a race that she has been saying she wanted to do for as long as she can remember, like since she was a teenager. And she hasn't done it yet. And she is like, okay, now I'm doing it, and this is how I'm doing it. And so when we first brought that goal back out, I asked her, I was like, if nobody ever knew that you trained and completed this race, would you still want to do it? If nobody ever knew, if it was just a secret and you like went in secret and trained and you went in secret and did the race, would you still want to accomplish it if nobody knew that you did? And the answer for her in the past would have been like, no, like, yes, I want to do it because I really want to do it. But mostly it's so that I can kind of control what other people are thinking. And so people can be like, ooh, she said she was going to do that thing and she did it. That's not her intention anymore. So for her, now we know that she is looking to achieve this goal from a place of worthiness, not from the hustling for her worthiness place. So that's really what it looks like. You feel successful while you are in the process of achieving the goal, not just when you get to the finish line. That's why we exhaust ourselves. So why is this so hard? Let's talk about that for a minute, because here's where shit really gets real. It's hard for many reasons. Some of them are just how we are wired. We are always wired to be like looking out for what's wrong. But also, I want to make sure that you understand that the world doesn't want you to make this shift, at least the world that most of us are living in. Because the world that most of us are living in, there would be several billion or maybe trillion by now dollar industries that would collapse if all of us stopped hustling for our worthiness, if all of us felt enough as we are. If we stop doing that, these industries will stop profiting off of our exhaustion and our self-doubt, right? Let's think about these industries. The self-help industry is there, right? We're like, oh, it wants us to feel better, self-help. Yes, the self-help industry is giving you all of these different things to do, to try, to think about, to a course, a podcast, whatever, a book. And the goal is to make you feel like you're just one step away. You're so close to finally just feeling good enough, to feeling whole just as you are. But if that were the case, if every book that was put out was like, this is the answer, this is how you're going to feel worthy, there would be one book. There wouldn't be 8 million books with 20 million different ways of approaching it. There would just be one thing if that were the case, if the self-help industry really just wanted you to get better and then stay better. The same thing with the wellness industry, right? Our beauty industry, all of these things are like, oh, this is really great and you're doing this thing, but ooh, did you hear about this beauty routine? Did you hear about, are you using this supplement? Are you using this juice? Are you doing this morning routine? Oh, you're not? Oh, well, once you do that, then you'll probably feel good enough. Oops. But now there's something new. And it's telling you, nope, this is the answer. This is how you're going to feel good enough. These industries are telling us that is what you are consuming and you are bringing into your space all day long. You can't avoid it. Unless you live in a cave, you cannot avoid these industries telling you you're not doing enough, you're not doing it right. Here, buy this. And listen, I get it. I am in this industry. I've been in this industry a very long time. So I see what's happening, right? My goal is always to kind of like disrupt it and being like, hey, what if the only thing you had to do was remind yourself that you don't have to do anything, right? What if you understood you were already whole? That's all you have to do. So there are amazing books and amazing supplements and amazing beauty products and all of that. That's not the point. It's that the industry, the messaging is that you need to keep thinking that you're almost there because that's how you keep coming back. The way to disrupt it is to ask yourself, what if I'm already there? What if I didn't have to do one single thing differently? I don't have to change my morning routine. I don't have to change how I'm eating. I don't have to cold plunge. I don't have to meditate for this hour. I don't have to What if you don't have to do anything? You just get to live right now. What if you were already enough? What if success isn't about what you're doing and how many things you're crossing off your to-do list and how many goals you're achieving, but instead being present in what you've already built? What if that were the case? Wouldn't that be so much easier? The truth is, that's the truth. And I'm not saying we can't do things to improve ourselves or we can't have goals that we want to achieve for ourselves. That's being a human. I feel like once you stop wanting to enhance your life or to better your life, there's probably like something wrong. But the way we've been doing it is because I want to enhance my life and better my life because there's something wrong with me instead of, oh my gosh, because what if it could be even better? Like, what if I do this meditation and I love it so much that it changes my life. Like, that's the way you want to approach things. And also know that's going to change how you feel while you're approaching it. And it's also going to change how you feel when you achieve it or don't achieve it, right? It doesn't end up being just another thing you tried and gave up on. It's just another thing you tried just to see. It's so much easier. It feels so much better to not have your life always be a striving to be good enough or striving to make sure everyone knows you are worthy. If you want to break this cycle, which I know you do, you must, right? It doesn't feel good. Once you realize that it doesn't feel good, or that you can enjoy the rush and the adrenaline when it shows up, but you don't have to depend on that anymore, then here's where you start to get off of this hustle, achieve, exhaustion treadmill. You're just going to start pausing before you set a goal or before you work towards something, and just ask yourself, do I really want this? If nobody else knew I was going to achieve it, would I still want to put in the work and the effort to achieve this goal? Because if the answer is yes, then go, be ambitious, go and hustle, but you're hustling from a regulated space, right? You're hustling not from an empty vessel, but from something that is already fulfilled. Like, you already are filled because you're not trying to prove anything. You're just doing this thing because you want to. So pause before you set a goal. Regulate your nervous system. I was talking to a client a couple weeks ago and I was like, you got to regulate before you elevate. And she's like, oh my gosh, that feels like it should be like a book title or something. If you want sustainable success, if you want to be achieving goals without the exhaustion, without the burnout, without getting sick, a regulated nervous system is the foundation. That's why I was talking about those love letters, right? If you start your day being like, okay, I am worthy, I don't need to prove anything, I am already enough as I am, that is going to help you start moving in the direction of what you want, but not at that pace of like desperate energy. I have to get there in order to feel better. No, you already feel okay while you are getting there. That's how you achieve goals. That's how you get a sustainable success, that the goalpost doesn't keep moving. You can actually enjoy your life and your success, not only for like the 30 seconds right after it happens before you start hustling again. And then you really need to detach your worth from your achievements. Your worthiness is not dependent on what you achieve. It's not dependent on how much you can do, how productive you are. You are worthy because you are. You just are. Okay? Success and happiness do not have to be separate paths. In fact, if we're doing it from a regulated place, they really are the same path where we can, yes, we are working hard, and it doesn't always feel like, we're running through a meadow. Sometimes we are working hard and we are grinding towards a goal, but we're on the same path, success and happiness. That is the path. And the world is going to try to convince you that you still need to do more, that you still need to push harder, that you still need to be different. But you don't have to subscribe to that model anymore. You get to opt out. And your resistance can be as simple as saying, that's not my definition of success. Burnout, exhaustion, overwhelm, that does not feel successful. What does? Enjoying my life, peace, and happiness. That's my definition of success. So if you're feeling this shift, I want you to lean into it today, right now. Right now, if you are like, yes, I am an ambitious person, but I do know that it's coming from this worthiness trap where I'm trying to prove something. I see that's what I'm doing. Please, just in this moment, lean into it, right? This is not weakness. This isn't like, oh, I can't keep up the pace anymore. No, we are never meant to keep up that pace. I don't care if you are 20 or 90. We are not supposed to be keeping up that kind of a pace. This isn't about failure or weakness. This is about evolution. This is maturing. This is maturity, is moving into this space. You don't have to grind yourself into exhaustion to prove that you're worthy. You already are. That's my message for you today. Lean in, look at your goals, look at the energy that you are trying to achieve from. If it feels desperate, if it feels like I can't enjoy it until I get there, you are in that cycle. You are in the hustle cycle. And all you need to do is opt out. If you want support in staying grounded in this approach, that's what I do. You can check out the show notes to see all the different ways you can work with me, but definitely start with that Call Me AF Love Letter subscription. This daily reminder, first thing in your inbox, the first thing that you engage with in the morning before all of the shit that tells you like, oh my God, the world. It's your daily reminder to stay in your empowered future self energy, to get on your future self path and stay there before the world pulls you back. Okay? Link is in the show notes. I'll see you next week.